Hi there. Anybody out there need some encouraging words like me? So, I want to share with you what I've been studying and some of the amazing thoughts and action steps that I've learned to take in order to lift my own spirits, and hopefully I can share it with you and it will help you lift your spirits. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Laya Saul, author of You Don't Have to Learn Everything the Hard Way. Also, some people call me Aunt Leia. And I want to start with a story. I had a really interesting experience. We're dealing right now with some very serious issue of corona. And so, for some people, we're living in a very devastating way right now. For some of us, we're just living in our own little world inside of our house in isolation. So it's not as devastating, but it is challenging. So I was speaking with my granddaughter on the phone, and it's nice, you could read them a story. And I picked out a book that I didn't really remember. It's called Berlioz the Bear or something like this. And it was a very interesting story about a bear who was a bass player, and he was getting ready to go with his band to play at the ball. And as he was practicing and tuning up his bass, it was going zoom, zoom, bzz, zoom, zoom, bzz. So he was like, "What's wrong with my bass? Oh no, what's going to happen?" So he gets in the cart, they hook up the mule, and the mule starts pulling the cart, and he's worrying about his bass, and he's not quite paying attention, and all of a sudden one of the wheels of the cart gets stuck in a hole, and it's hard for the mule to pull it. So the mule just sits down in the middle of the road and stops. So along comes a rooster, and the rooster says, "Oh, I can get the mule to go." And the rooster tries to pull the mule by the rope, and of course he can't. So then comes along a dog. The dog says, "A rooster can't do that, only I could do that." So the dog tries and continues. After the dog comes a goat. After the goat comes a plow horse. In the meantime, Berlioz the bear is saying, "Come on, you guys, everybody get dressed for the ball, and let's tune our instruments." And along comes an ox, a big ox, and the ox says, "Only I can do this." And the ox starts pulling, and the mule won't even budge. The ox can't get the mule to move. And so he's still, in the meantime, he's still worrying about this buzz that's happening in his bass. So he tells everybody, "Let's just get our instruments warmed up." And the band starts to warm up their instruments, and there, lo and behold, his bass is saying again, "Zoom, zoom, buzz." But all of a sudden, a bee flies out, lands on the hind side of the mule, and stings the mule. And the mule, of course, jumps up and runs to the ball. So I thought, what an incredible metaphor that is for exactly what we're dealing with right now. We've been in a world, no secret, that's being polluted, where things are out of balance, people are being mistreated, there's so much injustice in so many parts of the world, human slavery and trafficking, a lot of really hard stuff. And we thought maybe we could have a movement or a political movement. What was going to be the thing that would get change in the world? And it turns out the thing that is driving massive global change right now, like that little bee in the story, is this little tiny virus. And it has a sting, ouch, but it's moving things forward. So I thought that was an amazing metaphor. And for us to just keep in mind, there's something in my world that in the spiritual circles of the observant Jewish world, where people are talking about this right now. These are the Messianic era. That this is really a time of ushering in the Messianic era. So it's this amazing thing that people really, there is this buzz in the world that something really big is happening, something really big is changing. And one of the things that is talked about, that in this time that there will be birth pangs as this new world is about to be born or birthed, that there are birth pangs. So for anybody that's ever experienced a birth, either your own personally or somebody that you know, yourself, wife, sister, whatever. So there's this idea of giving birth, and I thought, well, for the really hard times, and believe me, I've had my own hard times through all of this. Of course, I only make the videos when I'm feeling good, right? But I have to process the hard stuff. And so I thought, well, let me follow that metaphor of the idea of birth pangs and giving birth. So if we're in a contraction to a global change, so in a physical birth, what do you do? How do you deal with a contraction? And so one of the things that the body has to do is produce a hormone called oxytocin. So oxytocin is also called the love hormone. And when women are learning how to give labor or preparing themselves to give labor, to have labor, so they want to increase the oxytocin in their body. It prepares their body. And here it is, this love hormone. So this oxytocin is what a mother needs in order to bond with her baby. And it's also the same hormone that we use to bond with each other. And I thought, what an amazing metaphor, because really what we need right now, what the world needs now, is love, sweet love. It's really the thing that will help us move forward in all of these big changes. So how do you increase oxytocin? And here's the thing, if you increase it for your own self, what it's going to do is have a ripple effect. And this is a real thing. You've seen this, where somebody in the room is in a bad mood and it has a ripple effect and it can take the whole room down. And you've also seen it where somebody can walk into a room and come with a high energy and just shift the energy in the room. You can do that in your own small sphere, and you can trust that even if you're just in isolation in your own house, if you've increased your own oxytocin, if you've increased the love hormone inside of you, if you've increased that energy inside yourself, it will ripple whether you see it or whether you don't. It makes a difference. So I'm just going to give you a few ideas. What I hope is that after I give my ideas, that those of you who are watching, if you have other ideas for this, please put them in the comments and share them with other people. People do read the comments, even if they don't like them or respond. So a couple of ideas that for increasing your own oxytocin. One is, if you're in a position with somebody else to share a hug, that's a great way to do it. If you don't have another human being that you can hug and you have an animal that you can pet, that will also increase oxytocin. You know, there's another, so I went searching on the internet to find different ideas, and one woman was saying, even if you just put your own hand on your heart, that will change things right there. So there's that. There's this idea of just visualizing. If you give somebody else a gift, and to expand on that, maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a love note, maybe it's a text, a loving text. So anything that you put out in the world that is more loving, it will increase the loving feelings inside yourself. So I want to just thank you for showing up. Thanks for hanging out with me for these few minutes. And again, add your own comments. And this is a time when it's hard for people. Some people are all alone in isolation. They're all by themselves, and it's lonely and it's hard. And then there are other people who are with their kids, and their kids are bouncing off the wall. Just know that wherever you are, that somebody is kind of wondering how nice it might be if they were in your position. So try to be grateful for what you do have, and to find the positive side, the silver lining of the situation that you're in right now, and figure out find the path to be tender with yourself in this challenging time. This is a good time to be tender with yourself in the same way that you would want to be tender with a little baby or a little child or somebody who's very, very old that you love. To just be patient and tender, and God bless you, and keep shining.